We are proud to announce the first annual You Guys Shred Fest, featuring performances by Sunfish, Queen Adilla, Downriver, and Poet Bones. Tickets are available at angelustheater.com.
Yeah!
Thanks, bro.
You guys are so good! Keep playing!
We haven't started playing.
Sweet Home Alabama, playing!
Just got here, man.
You guys shred! 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 You guys shred!
Welcome to You Guys Shred. When the van catches fire when you're doing your taxes, the opening band eats all the pizza, and there's a biker gang fight at your show. I am your host, Keaton Stewart.
I'm your co-host, Tyler Christensen.
If you guys like what we're doing and want to support the podcast, it really helps us out if you subscribe, share, and review. You can find our musical project, Poet Bones, on all your preferred streaming platforms, and you can find our merch at poetbones.com. Today's guest sings in the band Sleep Signals. They got a new EP coming out here soon. Please enjoy Robert Cosgrove of Sleep Signals. Thanks for coming on, man.
For sure. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So typically we like to start with how we know the guests, and we opened for your band Sleep Signals a couple months ago. We opened up for you guys and had a good old time playing with you guys. And then we kind of just chatted from there. Mm-hmm. And from that show, when we were opening up with you, you kind of mentioned that you guys have you guys are pretty DIY and tour a lot. And you had mentioned that you have had your share of mishaps touring, if you wanted to kind of talk about some of those experiences.
Yeah, so we've definitely had some bad luck. It typically happens in Missouri for whatever reason. I don't know what it is about Missouri, but yeah, like in 2017, we were on tour in Kansas City. So we had an issue with our transmission. We took it into to a shop, and a master transmission mechanic fixed it and didn't fix it very well. We got like a mile down the road, and the van started on fire. And we like got our stuff out, well, as much as we could grab anyway, out, and then it blew up, like literally like an action movie, like Hollywood style.
Was all your stuff in there?
All of our personal stuff was in the van. Our gear was all in the trailer, and somehow, like, you can actually see it if you look it up on YouTube. You can see there's a video of it, and it's like, it's literally a fireball. And somehow our trailer didn't catch. So we were really fortunate to save all our gear, but all of our personal stuff and everything. It was crazy, man. This is like what it's like to be on the road, right? Like, I was doing my taxes, and I have to, like, in the band is like part of my taxes, right? Because it's an LLC. And I was literally doing my taxes in the front seat when the van caught on fire. So, like, hopped out, like, I didn't even grab my wallet. All my taxes and everything, like all of our receipts, everything was like all in the van. And it blew up. So lost all of it.
Sure, it was all in the van.
right. But luckily we had like a lot of it backed up digitally. But and then we were on tour in 2021. We were out with POD and From Ashes to New, and we were just north of Kansas City. And my driver fell asleep going like 77 miles per hour, and he hit our bus and rolled our bus. And everybody was in the hospital and rehab and stuff for a really long time. And we missed like 14 months because of COVID. And then we came back, played like 2 shows on that tour, and then missed like another 13 months in the hospital and rehab and stuff. So, yeah, we've definitely had some mishaps, like Jesus. On the road.
I remember you kind of telling me, or everyone each kind of telling me their own story of the bus flipping and everything else, and how crazy that is already. So I'm glad you guys are all safe and healed up and everything. But our logo is actually a van on fire, so you guys fit the bill.
Right, we're like your prototypical
we're
like
yeah.
So I feel like we kind of skipped through the van fire. I feel like there's some more juice in there. So you're up front, you're doing your taxes. What is everyone else doing in the van? Is it people sleeping or?
Yeah, I'm sure some of the guys in the back were like sleeping and just messing around on their phone or doing whatever they do, and we were touring in a van at that time. So like, it's just like, it was, like a GMC Savannah kind of van. And, had like two rows of captain's chairs and then like a bench seat in the back. So I don't know, people just like relaxing and lounging around.
Was it a white van?
No, it was, like blue.
Oh,
Why?
because our van is blue on the
Oh.
logo.
I was gonna say, like, because no one's expecting to have to like grab all their stuff really quick, so it's probably like no one has their stuff really together, I'm sure. So there's no way
Right,
to grab
yeah.
anything.
Yeah, like because it started like so. Okay, so we're driving, right. Like I said, we only got a mile down the highway, and just we lost power. So like we just kind of limped it off the off ramp, and we got to like rolled to a stop at the light. It was kind of like down a hill, and we limped it down to that light, and all of a sudden it was just pouring smoke, and we're like, what's going on, And then all of a sudden the smoke turned into fire coming out like from the hood area.
Shit.
And yeah, like we're like, get everything, get out. Like we just like jumped out, and it happened very quickly. Like everything just kind of like started burning, and there was fire inside like pretty fast, and all my papers and stuff probably didn't help any.
One band member with like a water bottle trying to put it out.
No, but one of the dudes, I mean, we had everything out, we were standing there for like 30, 45 seconds probably. And one of the dudes actually went and like was trying to grab stuff out. Like we had to like pull him out of the way. And then probably a minute, 2 minutes later, like, I mean, is when it eventually caught the gas tank and like
Damn.
it exploded like for reals.
Did you guys ever go back to that mechanic to be like, hey, you owe us a van?
No, and the thing is like it was kind of like a favor that he was doing for us. So like it just kind of it is what it is.
It
like,
doesn't sound like he did you a favor.
No, he
It
didn't.
kind of sounds like he still owes you one.
No, he was just trying to help, and like he actually did the. I'm not gonna say who it was. I don't want to like
Yeah.
But he did the repair in a parking lot for us. He like came out to help us out because he knew we were on tour. We were stressing about missing the date, and like he wanted to help us out. So, but it was crazy because like I said, my wallet was there, and believe it or not, we only missed 2 more dates of that tour. And then we had another van, but I had to like, so I was living in Wisconsin at the time, and we had to, I was like, all right, well, I'm going to like fly home. And I was like, oh shit, like you can't fly in an airplane if you don't have an ID. So I was like, I guess I'm taking a bus. And it was like a 24-hour bus ride back because they zigzag and they stop for a long time. 24-hour bus ride back to Wisconsin. I had somebody pick me up at the airport, drop me off at the DMV, got my driver's license, had them pick me up, take me to the airport from the DMV, flew to Dallas, and the other guys had hitched a ride down to Dallas, and they found a van down there, and then we bought the van in Dallas. We only missed 2 shows, so we missed the night of the wreck of the fire. We missed Oklahoma City the night after that, and then unfortunately we had an off day after that. So we only missed 2 shows.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So are all of you guys based then in Wisconsin or wherever? Are you based together or are you all spread out?
We're pretty spread out, and technically the band is based out of Central Oregon now. So we were a Minneapolis band, but ironically, none of us, I don't think any of us actually lived in Minneapolis. It was just like the nearest closest city. Like I lived in Western Wisconsin. And if I was like, yeah, we're from River Falls, Wisconsin, you'd be like, what is that? So we were a Minneapolis band. And then, like we had some member changes and stuff over COVID. And like most of the guys ended up living out on the West Coast. So I just moved I packed up and moved out here. I'm in Central Oregon, like Bend area. And we're in, 2 of us are in Central Oregon. One of us is in Washington, and then one of us is in Phoenix.
Yeah, because your guys' guitar player plays with Late Night Savior, right?
Yeah, he's been filling in on tours and stuff for them. Yeah, Grant.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, we hung out with him a couple times.
Yeah,
And then
Brandon filled in on our last tour
yeah,
actually
then
too.
he
So
filled on
like,
with you
we're
guys. Yeah,
just
that's
like,
right.
yeah, we're just like kind of like commingling a little bit.
Yeah.
He came on the podcast right after I think right after he got off tour with you guys, I think.
Mm.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, so kind of going back to we were talking about the past and being located in different spot. How did the band form and how did it come together? You guys first released in like 2017, right?
Technically, our first release was in 2015. We just try to hide that pretty well.
Oh,
Like it was, it's like it's one of
yeah,
those,
yeah.
it was like, we were young trying to figure out like how to get the thing started, and like we put out a full length. Well, we have to put out a full length for our first album, and it's like the worst thing that you can possibly do,
Right.
and just production value was not like what we're happy with, so we've actually kind of since buried that. We actually had a different singer at the time too. I used to play guitar in the band,
Oh wow.
and we had a different singer at the time. So, um, yeah, we just that like so the first album came out in 2015. We had an EP that we put out in 2016, and then our EP that we put out in 2017, At the End of the World, was kind of like our first like real EP that we put out, and the first one that we toured a lot on and did a lot of stuff on.
So how did the band start then?
Just from a lot of like previous touring bands and stuff. Like most of us were in, like either hardcore bands or metalcore bands or metal bands. It's kind of like weird that we all got together and started playing rock and roll, like
Mm-hmm.
but we all kind of came from like, more hardcore metalcore kind of side of things. But yeah, just like a bunch of dudes that knew each other from previous projects and previous touring bands and all that kind of good stuff.
So you just through like social media or just knowing each other already in person, then just like was it your idea to start the band or whose idea?
Um, honestly, dude, there have been so many like iterations of this, like you could trace it back to like 2014 basically, and we started it in Minnesota with just like a group of friends and stuff, and then we never really thought it was going to take off and be anything serious. It was just like kind of like a fun thing that we started doing, and then when we were kind of like, oh yeah, like maybe we have like some good songs here, we should like maybe think about doing this for real. We started pulling in some of those guys because like a lot of the guys that we started with like couldn't tour,
Mm,
and like when we decided like, oh yeah, we want to like be serious with this, we want to tour, we want to, do the real thing. We kind of had to, you know, find some other people and that kind of stuff.
Mm.
yeah, part ways.
Yeah.
So going from, releasing in 2017 and starting, you guys started touring just right away, like after that release or?
I mean, we started touring in 2015 actually, on that full length, and I mean, we again like coming from like a lot of hardcore and metalcore bands and stuff, like everything that we did was like super DIY back in the day. And so we just kind of like took that approach for rock stuff, so like we weren't really sure what we were doing when we first got into it.
Mm-hmm.
Booked a lot of really shitty shows over over that time. And yeah, 2017 is when we really started to kind of catch a little bit more of a stride. And then 2019 was when, well, 2018, 2019 is when we really started to grind hard and like start getting on some big tours. And we really started moving that 2017 album and everything. I think we ended up selling like 10,000 physical copies of that album from the time it came out through like 2019. So
Nice.
we were out on the road like a lot, hustling really hard with that album.
So kind of just speaking of that album and recording and stuff DIY, how does the writing process kind of work for Sleep Signals?
That's kind of evolved over the years too. In 2017, when we dropped that album, like it was pretty much just me writing most of everything. And then like the Ethereal EP that we put out a couple of years ago here, like that was more of a collective effort. wrote a lot more of that in the studio, worked, a lot closer with the producer in the studio instead of just like coming and having everything kind of figured out and being like, here's what we're doing, like just record it. We sat down and like really picked the songs apart, and like we went in with a lot of candidates, sat down with the producer and like really started to pick through it. And then we actually just recorded a new EP, and we're going to start dropping some singles next month.
Oh wow.
I probably shouldn't say that because it's not announced yet, but we're going to be announcing it really soon anyway, so it's fine. Yeah, so that was a really cool writing process. It was mostly me and Grant in the studio with the producer and a co-writer that we went in with, and we did a lot of work in the studio. Had to take 2 trips back to the studio in Kansas. Worked with Chris Dawson, really great producer. And it was just a really cool process, man. It was cool having a co-writer, bringing some ideas to the table and that kind of stuff too, and doing, more of a collaborative kind of thing.
So would you say that you guys have taken on like a new sound for this EP, or is it kind of just, the same?
To me, it still sounds like Sleep Signals, like, it's, there's a little bit more like screaming. It's a little heavier maybe in some spots, but, for the most part, it feels pretty similar, it's just more, I feel like it's just more intelligent songwriting and like better, it's just better production value and just, so it still sounds like the same band. I think it's just like it's mature, it's
yeah.
It shows more maturity, I think.
Speaking of production value, you guys had a pretty intense, well, at least for me, I dug it, your light setup and stuff at the show that we played. So how has that evolved over time? Is that just something you guys keep accumulating, or do you change it up like every tour? Or?
Yeah, so that's really evolved. Everything evolves, right? Like like our live rig, our production, everything has evolved over time. Yeah, we had started with just some like really simple DMX programming, and some really cheap lights and that kind of stuff, like back in like 2015 when the band started. And I got really into automating. I got really into automating DMX lighting, and just really have been diving into that ever since. And we had upgraded to we built with like guitar cabinets. We took the speakers out and we put in like work lights in them, and it had kind of like a marquee lighting kind of thing that we did for a long time. And that was super cool. And then we lost all of that in the bus wreck. So when we came back from the bus wreck, we're like, yo, let's go big or go home, So
yeah.
We toured with Atreyu back in 2018, and they had a rented light rig that I really, really liked. It was mostly vertical. So it was like, it took up like a really small footprint on the stage. And that was kind of like one of the big inspirations, I think, for me to kind of build the blueprints for these lights that we built. And so what we have now is we've got 4 towers. It sucks because they weigh about 250 pounds a piece, each tower.
Man, yeah.
But you guys saw like Grant and Jay, like they're big dudes.
Yeah, they're good.
They have fun. This is like fun for them, lifting shit like that. But so we have 4 vertical towers now with 4 230 watt beams per tower. And like when you guys saw us, actually, we had only programmed like the strobe effects and the colors. We haven't even gotten to like the movement of the heads yet.
Yeah.
Because there's so much work that has to go into all those tracks and everything. It's all automated, and it's all done in Cubase to our live tracks. So yeah, it's that's constantly evolving. Every tour we go out, it's like a little better than it was the last tour, and it definitely brings like an interesting dynamic to the show.
So is that something you're doing kind of like on the road, you're kind of still messing with it and changing things, or do you not touch anything until the end of the tour and then redo it?
I don't mess with anything, dude, while we're on the road, because then
only my taxes.
I'll right. No, because we'll end up like breaking something, and then you know, we'll be in the middle of a show and something will like be messed up, and it's happened like more than once. So we're just trying to. It's like we'll save off the project, upload it to, you know, to the cloud, and then we will mess with it like at home.
And are you the only guy that like that knows how the programming works, or do the other guys kind of know like if something goes wrong they can help troubleshoot?
I mean, they all know how it works from a high level, and like how everything is daisy chained and how everything is rigged up and everything. But I don't think anybody else really probably fully understands the actual automation aspect of it. You know, other than just from like a high level. I don't let anybody else touch it though.
So you kind of mentioned some of the cool bands that you've toured with. Is there any kind of cool stories from those shows and those dates?
Yeah, like Atreyu was a great band to tour with. Really great guys, really nice guys, genuine dudes. Alex was singing for him at the time. And you know, every night he was up on stage like saying like, yo, these guys are touring in a fucking van, like go buy their merch, like, you know, which is really cool, like a headlining band to say about, you know, like the opening band on the tour. We always really appreciated that every night. And I mean, like, we were in Baltimore on Thanksgiving, and they flew their families in and had them over at like an Airbnb. And they invited us over because they knew we weren't, you know, we were out on the road and away from our families and stuff too. So they invited us over for Thanksgiving, and it was a lot of fun hanging out with them. And I mean, like in Portland, they did like an ice cream social before one of the shows, and like bought a bunch of ice cream for everybody. Like, yeah, so they were super cool, really nice dudes. Ice Nine Kills was on that tour as well, and they were all really great dudes, super friendly.
Yeah, those guys blew up, man. We one of my old bands played with them on Warped Tour, and they were like right after us on Warped Tour, and they were, you know, the Ernie Ball stage, the smaller stage, and now they're like playing with Slipknot or something, right?
They're about to go on tour like for the next year and a half with Metallica, dude.
Oh, that's what it is. Yeah, even bigger than Slipknot. Yeah, which is insane to me.
Yeah, it was really cool to see that, and that was that tour was like really kind of like what did it. Like it was that was the tour, the first tour supporting the Silver Scream, and it was really cool, man. I mean, they were the second band on that package. And, you know, and the Memphis Mayfire was direct support for Atreyu. And, you know, it was pretty cool, man. I mean, like almost all those shows on that tour sold out. And I would argue that like probably half the people at those shows were there for Ice Nine, like for real. And, their merch line would start when the doors opened, and their merch line would not stop until they kicked people out at the end of the night. Like, because we were always set up next to them. Memphis was set up next to Atreyu. And yeah, there were people in that line from the time doors opened to the time it closed, like literally every night. So it was cool to see them blow up. That, like I said, they're really great dudes too. We've stayed in touch with a couple of them, and yeah, it's just really, it's awesome to see a band like over a course of like 2-3 years just make so much progress. It's really cool. But yeah, and yeah, we've toured with a lot of other really cool bands. We toured with Hell Yeah, Nonpoint. They're all really great guys. Like a Storm, we toured with. They were really awesome people. Some of the friendliest dudes you'll ever meet. Like they're from New Zealand. They all talk with their funny accents and like just like super friendly dudes. But yeah, we've been really fortunate to get to tour with a lot of cool bands.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of mentioned during your live show about how like you guys are very DIY and you don't have a label. So how did you get onto doing those cool shows without a label then?
So, I mean, we've had to grind really hard, and we've played a lot of shows. We've played in a lot of markets, and, you know, at the end of the day, you have to be able to bring something to the table to be on a tour, right? Like, so in a lot of cases, a lot of these bigger tours we've done, we've had to buy onto those tours, and we have to, pay money up front to be on those tours. And then we have to hustle our asses off with merch. And again, that's why we sold 10,000 physical copies of that CD, because, like we're out there hustling every night in the crowd, talking to people, and just trying to get our CD in as many people as possible's hands, yeah, I mean, some of those tours we bought onto, and then some of those tours, it's just putting ourselves in the right spot at the right time and playing a lot of shows in a lot of markets and being able to, to help draw in those markets.
So what advice would you give to like a kid that's watching this that just started their own band and they love Sleep Signals? Like, what would you, just hard work basically?
Yeah. And I mean, like, I'm learning still all the time, man. We always try to be really humble and try to be, there's always somebody that's come before you. There's always somebody that's like knows more than that has experienced more than you've experienced. And so we're always learning all the time. But one of the biggest things I'd say that we've really been focusing on the last couple of years is just like your production value. And we thought that at one point, I think we thought that going in and paying a producer $1,000 a song was like a lot of money. And it is, it's a lot of money. But like, if you want good production, if you want like stellar production, it costs money, and you just have to like, it's part of the equation, so like my advice would be, don't skimp on your production. If you're going to go in, like I said, we made the mistake of going in our first album and recording a 10 track full length, for a couple $1,000, where we should have gone in and taken that $2,000 and got a really good single done with a really good producer, and then spent, all the money we spent promoting that album. We should have gone and put that into a really good video with a really good videographer. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen, young bands make that mistake. And like I said, we made it too. So I guess my biggest piece of advice, in my long-winded answer here, is, just focus on like production quality, and like put out something that's like really good the first time, instead of, because you just, it's so hard to grow. It's so hard to have a competitive edge over all the other bands that are out there putting out good music. Like, everybody and their brother can put out something that's like pretty solid out of their basement if they spend enough time on YouTube, and there's so much competition that like you really have to put yourself, if you want to be ahead of those other bands, like you just really have to set yourself apart with your production.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's quality over quantity for sure.
Yeah, you get what you pay
Absolutely.
for.
For sure.
Kind of just speaking of, just kind of going back to like advice for kids and things. Obviously, any of us that have been on tour, you kind of learn the etiquette. You understand all the different things about like, just like even opening for other bands after being on tour and stuff. It's like, I don't want to, I want everything to go to the touring band. I know what it's like to be on $5 a day and whatever else. And I know you guys had kind of a run-in recently with some bands kind of doing the no-nos, like several no-nos in one night. You want to kind of talk about that so people can learn from their mistakes?
Yeah, so I'm not gonna mention any names, or like I almost went to Facebook jail like for my post. I had to take it down because they reported it. So, yeah, I mean, like, long story short, there was a band that they did like zero promotion for the show at all. It was a ticketed show. Everybody was hustling tickets. We didn't sell a ton of tickets for that show either, to be honest. Nobody really did, but they sold zero. They snuck some of their friends in the back door. to try to get them, to not have to pay at the door. And they the promoter had bought like some pizzas, and it was like for all the bands. And we're always happy to share. Like we're not a bunch of greedy dudes. Like that's our pizza. Like, but like there is a certain etiquette, right? Like even when we've been out on some of these bigger tours and there's like this whole spread of catering, right? Like you don't touch the food until the other bands say like, yo, have you guys eaten yet? Like go eat, like you don't even like, you leave it alone. You sit there and you look at it until they tell you, and that's just like, it's just like the unwritten law, I guess, like everybody knows that. And they and their friends came and ate like all of it was like giant pizzas, dude, like 3-foot wide pizzas.
And they knocked him out.
and they ate all of it. And like one of the other local bands came bitching at us, like mad at us, and we're like, bro, we didn't even like know the pizza was here yet. Like it was,
we didn't even get a
band,
slice.
Yeah. Right. So like, it wasn't even just us, it was like the other bands too. And if you've met Grant, like, he's like the sweetest dude in the world, man. He's like it's almost impossible to get the dude mad. And like, he just was like, yo, like, do you think you guys could like save some of this pizza, And the dude was super fucking drunk. Like all of them were super hammered. And he was like, oh, this pizza? You mean this pizza? They're just talking shit, like just being an asshole. And and then and then they were like 10 minutes late setting up. So the
Which
sound
just
guy
throws
cut them off
everyone's
by 5 minutes. So they lost 5 minutes off their set, and they were mad about that. And Grant was out talking to his fiance after the after the show, and they like, keep in mind, super hammered, driving around town, like drove by and like whipped a bunch of half-eaten hot dogs at him out the window. And it's like, what's wrong with you, dude?
Are you serious? Oh my gosh.
So, and they were posting a bunch of shit online about us and say like, oh, it was only one hot dog. And it's like, okay, well, I don't care how many chewed up hot dogs you threw, dude.
It's still gross.
Threw chewed up hot dogs.
Still rude.
And like, it's just, it was pretty ridiculous. But they've already gotten enough promotion from us.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. No need to promote them, but it's good. I mean, without even mentioning their names, it's good for other people to kind of hear those tips and things, though. Like you'd think it's just a simple thing, be on time and you don't eat what's not yours, or just easy logic of like, hey, these guys are on the road, they need all the money they can get. Like, how many times homeless dudes have come out on the road and be like, "Hey, man, can I have some change?" He's like, "Dude, I need the change. I'm just as homeless as you are," So it's that when I saw that, I was like, "Oh man, that totally deserves to be like told that story, because that's rough."
Yeah, I honestly regret even saying anything about it. I should have just let it go, because it just started a bunch of drama, and I hate drama, dude. Like I just and we try to be nice people. We try to be good to everybody. We try to like, we try to be like a really respectful, respectable, just professional band, like we do take it seriously. Like we show up and like we mean business when we're there, and we set up on time. We get, we're
it's your job.
Like we try to stay on a schedule and stuff, cause it's like, we have a lot of experience doing this, and we know that if we're not, the headliner doesn't get up on stage, when they're supposed to, and they're an hour and a half late, then people are not going to be there. And, it's like, we're trying to maximize everybody's audience and just like try to keep the show is on time and good as possible for everybody, but yeah, it's just, it turned into a whole thing, and like I'm just so over it, dude. Like I don't have to worry about that band anymore. It's
done. Well, they should have been. I mean, it sucks that it had to be you guys, but someone needed to tell them that they, call them out and tell them their behavior wasn't good.
Oh, they don't care, dude. They thought it was funny, dude. I shit you not. Like they were like, it was crazy, dude. Like, so they're like, okay, they're sitting out in the parking lot, like outside the show, like punching each other, like like, yo, how hard can you punch me? And they're literally
Okay,
hitting
that says
each
a lot
other out
about
in the
them.
parking lot.
Yeah.
And then like the promoter the next night was like, yo, what happened with that band, man? Like, and I explained it to him, and he's like, and I didn't say anything about the punching thing, right? And he's like, yeah, I thought they were pretty off, man. He's like, they were out in the parking lot punching each other. So they were doing it at that show too. And the promoter thought it was like super weird. And I was like, bro, they did it at our show too, man. Like, what is going on? So it was weird, dude.
Can we knock a few more brain cells out before this set?
Yeah, I don't think they cared about much of anything, dude. They're just, and it's whatever, man.
Yeah.
If you're having a good time and like you just want to be in a band to have a good time and stuff, that's cool. Everybody's got different reasons for doing this kind of thing, you know, and like, and if that's what makes you happy, then play shows and, you know, to nobody and punch each other.
As long as you're not hurting or hurting or ruining other people's, livelihood and shit, that's not cool. It's kind of an unspoken rule. If you're the opening band, you gotta, help bring show. Every band promotes the show and helps bring people. So,
for sure,
pretty weird, but
pretty weird.
What's like? I mean, you guys have been on the road so much. What's like besides the dudes punching each other and stuff? What's like the craziest, weirdest thing that's happened?
I mean, that definitely was like one of the craziest, weirdest things, dude. And
besides your taxes,
yeah.
Yeah. I think probably one of the other craziest stories I have was we were in St. Joseph, Missouri, I think it was. And this was like early on too, where it was like probably 2016, 2017.
Missouri doesn't like you, man.
No, yeah, right. I know. We pull up to the show, and it's like a biker bar, and we start loading in our gear and shit. And as we're wheeling things up the curb and into the front, a group of like probably 30, 40 bikes pull up, and they're all coming up on the sidewalk and stuff. And like, one of them like comes by and like kicks one of our cabs, like as he's coming by. I'm like, holy shit, this is like a rough crowd, man. And they all, they're right up on the curb to park their bike with the back tire against the curb, so they can kind of, parallel park them. The bartender or somebody, or the promoter or somebody came up and told us, he's like, yeah, they're really cool guys, just don't worry about them, just be respectful to them, and they're going to respect you guys. Everything will be good, And our drummer at the time is like just like a super, I don't know, just like really one of those like free spirit hippie kind of dudes, that just kind of oblivious to lots of things, and he like just goes up to one of them. He's like, hey dude, he's like, the guy's like, what do you guys sound like? And he's like, we sound like Lady Gaga, Britney Spears kind of stuff. You're going to love it, man. And the dude, like, we're like, holy shit, did you just say that to that guy? Like, you're going to get your ass kicked. And like, the guy just like looked at him, and they kind of like chuckled and walked away. So we're like, oh shit. But anyways, yeah. So like tough crowd, right? And we're playing our set, and we got like halfway through, and the whole room clears out, and we're like, man, are we like, is the sound really bad, or like, are we playing really off, or is like something going on weird, And there were like two people in the bar for the whole rest of our set. And the promoter comes up at the end of the night, and he's like, oh dude, he's like, I'm so sorry. Like one of the, so these are like 1%er, bike gangs, like the big bike gangs. And he's like, somebody from a rival bike gang came, and they pulled a knife in the venue, and like, then the other guy pulled a gun. So they all just like, and we were oblivious to this happening. Like we were just like playing a show, and we were completely oblivious. And like, there was like a knife gun fight in the show at the show. And like all the bikes cleared out and left and stuff. And like police came, and it was crazy.
Holy shit!
Everybody knows no.
But they let you finish the set,
right? Yeah, nobody tells us like, hey, like maybe you should like go hide somewhere or something. It's just like, yeah, we'll just like let these guys play.
Oh man! So as you're like loading gear out, the cops are coming in.
Yeah, yeah. It was an interesting night to say the least.
Did they question you or anything?
No, nobody talked to us or anything. Like nobody
Obviously
cared. We're
not.
just the band, dude.
Obviously not if they didn't tell you to stop playing.
Right.
Man, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's great.
It's great.
Everybody knows you don't bring a knife to a gunfight.
Yeah, everybody knows. So you kind of mentioned that you got the new EP kind of coming out. Is there kind of a little bit more you can kind of tell us about that? You already have like the artwork and the whole concept together for it?
We're still doing a lot of work on it. We've got 5 singles that we're releasing them as singles first, and then we'll put the EP out later. I know that. So it's just kind of like how the game is going now. You know, it's like it's more, I don't want to say profitable, but yeah, because it's not like a money thing. It's just like it makes more sense. It's like more common sense to release singles.
Yeah.
So we're dropping the first single in February. And then the plan is to drop another single in April. I know we are planning to make another run at radio in April, which is always exciting and stressful and lots of emotions. We actually went to radio in 2020. And you know, I don't know if you guys have done radio at all, but it's really expensive, and you tend to start a campaign like months in advance. And the ironic thing about last time is a week after we went to radio, COVID like officially shut everything down. I still remember it's like South by Southwest got canceled. That was like the first big tour, like the big tour or like festival kind of thing that got canceled. And I remember like we were like, oh, this is like a good promo opportunity, like because we didn't understand yet what COVID was going to be, right? Like nobody knew. So we're like, this is a good promo opportunity for us. Like let's put out a new ad mat that says like not canceled, and we'll be like really cool, you know, like, yeah, we're not gonna cancel our shit like a bunch of pussies like Southwest, you know, South by Southwest. And then everything got canceled and we look like idiots. But
so, you like have a canceled thing over the not canceled.
We ultimately ended up having to cancel 54 tour dates. So so anyway, we chose to go to radio last time a week before COVID shut down the entire industry, and like I said, canceled 54 tour dates. Anytime that you're out on anytime that you're going to radio, you have to tour a lot. So we were, planning to be on tour like all year, and we still did all right at radio. The track peaked at like 30, and it was charting for like 11 weeks, and we got Octane, we got like 80 FM stations. So it was good. And we didn't really know what we were doing with radio yet. We know a lot more about it now. So it was a good, like very expensive,
learning
crash course, learning opportunity. Yeah. But yeah. So anyway, we're planning to go back to radio, with the second single. The first single is just kind of like a street single to kind of warm up our numbers and get our Spotify and YouTube numbers and all this stuff back up where they're supposed to be. And then the second single we're going to push out to radio again. So I know we've got already somewhere like 90 something tour dates booked for 23. And then I'm sure by the end of the year, we're only booked out until July. So by the end of the year, I'm sure we'll have somewhere between 100, 150 dates. It's going to be a busy year.
That's exciting though.
Yeah.
That's a lot of dates. Are those all in the US, or do you have plans to go over anywhere else?
All US for right now, especially with the radio thing going.
That makes sense.
We're just trying to play as many radio markets as we can so we can get in. You got to get in with all the programming directors and shake hands with all the people that make the decisions at the radio stations and all that stuff. And then, it helps to build the fan base in those markets so that they can call in and request the songs and stuff like that.
Yeah, makes sense.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Speaking of all the tour dates, do you have like a favorite place that you like to go back and play?
Besides
Like
Missouri.
Yeah, besides Missouri.
Missouri is probably our least favorite. But, I think I really, for whatever reason, the first one that always comes to mind for me is Club LA in Destin, Florida. Super cool venue. It's like an 800 cap room. We've played there 3 times. 2 of the shows were sold out. We were support on those shows. We are not able to sell out headline 800 cap rooms yet. But it was it's a super cool place, like on the panhandle of Florida, Emerald Coast, and it's like right off the beach. Super summer vibe, kind of feeling to it, and really nice venue. It's cool. And then like I don't know where people come from because it's not a super populated place. Like Pensacola and Mobile, Alabama are not far, but like people climb out of the woodwork to come to that venue. It's crazy. It's kind of like in the middle of nowhere in this little resort town. But it's always it's been packed every time we've been there, and it's always just a really good time.
Hell yeah.
What about your least favorite? And you can't say Missouri. Well, okay, I guess you already said it's your least favorite.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't want to talk shit, I don't know. There are a couple of venues we've played. Instead of giving you a specific venue, I'll just give you like an overview of kind of things that we don't like when we show to a venue. And it's mostly corner stages, like the little tiny corner stages with like awful PAs. And we actually don't play these anymore. Like we used to just play whatever we could get because we needed to get a show and get to the next place. We're a lot more, we've played, almost 600 shows now in 45 states. So like we're able to be a little bit more choosy about where we play. And, we just don't play those anymore because they're awful. But I know there's one that comes to mind. Again, I won't name names, but it's in Anaheim, and it's a corner stage, like one of the worst PAs we've ever had. And like it's a big circle around the bar, so like not only were we not able to fit on the stage, and like most of us had to be on the floor in front of the stage, in front of the PA feeding back, but like you could fit maybe 10 people in front of the stage, and the rest of the people were like on the other side of the room, and it's like it's like you can't see through it or anything. It's like it's a really bad setup.
The layout of the bar is horrible.
Yeah, it's real bad.
Yeah,
but it's God, I can't. I'm gonna give away what it is. It's world famous though. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
They go by it's like it's in their name.
We'll try and scope it out.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody's like, oh, I know what he's talking about.
Everybody probably knows exactly.
That's somebody's favorite bar.
I also kind of chuckling at the thought of somebody in Missouri listening to this right now, being like, "Oh man, he don't like Missouri."
That's not what they sound like in Missouri.
For what it's worth, like we have like 3 or 4 Missouri shows coming up on this next tour. So like, even though we
still haven't learned your lesson.
Right? No, but like people were like, "Oh, please don't stop coming to Missouri just because these bad things keep happening to you here." You know, so like we had to go back.
Yeah.
You gotta flip the negative into a positive situation.
Right. Yeah. These shows are going to be so awesome that like it's going to make up for all the. It's going to be hard to make up for all the bad things that have happened to us there, but we're going to try.
You heard it, Missouri. Sell all the shows out.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much again for chatting with us, man. It was an absolute pleasure. And
likewise, dudes.
We'll see you again.
Yeah, we'll catch you on the road.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks so much.
Yeah, no problem. Catch you later.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to You Guys Shred.